There are four kinds of things that can be done. One is to restrict commerce and international trade. The second is to restrict access to finance and markets. The third is to restrict entities and individuals. And the fourth is to look at goods that could also be used for militarizing, for creating chemical weapons, for nuclear armaments, and so on and so forth. And when all of these are attempted to be done, which is more or less, that is what a country-wide broad sanctions tends to be, then those restricted entities and individuals tend to be key people of the regime or proxies of the regime. For example, Russian oligarchs friendly to Putin. Putin could use those oligarchs to further the cause of the Russian state. So blocking those oligarchs becomes important. So there are four broad areas by which sanctions seek to block, and the implementation of a particular sanctions regime could involve one or more of these. It's entirely possible that a country like the US or indeed the European Union doesn't sanction most countries as you would expect, but in the matter of nuclear centrifuges, fully controls the export of nuclear centrifuges. And that would give you an example of very narrow targeted sectoral sanctions, which are not based on who you are, but are based on what you're trying to do. Now, some of the stated goals of sanctions, this is important to understand because you have to appreciate. Non-proliferation of weapons is fairly easy to understand. To promote human rights, also fairly easy to understand. End of terrorism, fair. Thwart drug trafficking, absolutely. Discourage one country from attacking another country. So far, many of these goals are also seen in anti-money laundering and countering the financing of terrorism. And then the next three things. Market access. Be able to reach into other markets and allow others to reach into our market. If you do not allow like equivalent access, then sanctions could be used to prevent your country from accessing my country. Protection of environment, so to move against entities or actors that are damaging the environment. And the last one is really a contentious one, which is the goal of regime change. Now, the goal of regime change makes sanctions a political tool, and there is no escaping that. So as we progress through the program, if there are some things which tend to be or sound political to you, that's because regime change is effectively political action on a global stage. So these are the multiple goals of sanctions, and one or more of them might be in play in a given situation. If we were going to look at Russian-Ukrainian conflict, then discouraging armed aggression would be one obvious and stated goal. And replacing Putin, the American president said that and then said he misspoke. Okay, so it's not that simple to take a stand on replacing government. There are other instances where the US has endeavored through sanctions to replace governments. Syria would be a primary example where the Americans would like to see Bashar al-Assad go.